It's Top Dice. Well, welcome to Top Dice. Just a short one today. There's me, Aid, and our usual co-host, Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hey guys, right.
So, what's been in the news recently? Matt Mercer has been in quite a bit, hasn't he, Chris?
Yeah, it certainly has. It's been spoken about. The sort of it's this obscure piece of news that he's been sort of consulted along with someone else on
The DMG, Dungeon Master's Guide.
the newest edition of the Dungeon Master's
Yeah,
Guide. Yeah,
yeah. The other person is from
interesting.
True Blood, I think, if I remember rightly.
Yeah,
And Wolf. Yep.
yeah.
So,
Kind of bizarre. I mean, you'd think that you'd get people that actually sort of write and design games for a living to consult, but maybe they just want influencers. I don't, or sort of random people that people like. It's a very strange thing to do.
yeah. Well, if you take a look at it, we've had Candela Obscura. There's Daggerheart as well. So there's a couple there straight away that have had Matt Mercer's name attached to, and yet he's not been part of the really the design side as such or anything
I think,
like it.
yeah,
He consulted,
very good,
yeah.
but I'll ask the question. I guess he runs a very good game, but is he a good designer? Because
Well, that's the question.
we haven't seen him design anything.
Yeah.
Um, we all run our games, but actually sort of creating not only a system or adapting a system, as Candela I can't even pronounce it.
Candelabra Obscura, yeah.
Sir, that is Blades in the Dark, etc., which
Or
is based.
Candela Obscura, not Candelabra, Candela Obscura.
Uh, you can tell we don't play it, guys.
Yeah.
Um, you know, that's he fronts that. Well, actually, he doesn't even front that because he's not part of it. He doesn't run it.
No, I had the game. I was very interested with it, the premise, and I had great hopes for it. I purchased it. It wasn't an expensive game, which was impressive for me. I ended up with buying a damaged copy, which was quite cheap, new, from one of the UK distributors. And yeah, it was very much an unfinished game. When you started reading through it, there were so many gaps in it, and quite a bit of it really didn't make that much sense. So I ended up parting with it. The last World War boots that was actually there. I went and sold. I think I got 15 quid for it, and which is basically what I paid for it.
Too bad, I suppose.
Yeah, it's so broke even on that one. I was just looking to sort of move it on really to someone who hopefully would actually want it, but it didn't gel. The writing was average. The stories in it were good. To be fair, it set the scene, but it didn't have enough detail of the world. It was very flaky on that side, and the system itself also quite flaky with huge gaps. Not great, to be quite blunt. Not great. Now, Daggerheart I've looked at as well. That seems a lot more cohesive. I'm looking forward to actually
Yeah, me too.
potentially picking that up and maybe the beta test. I'm going to give it a bit of a run through. Now, I know it's got cards and other things in there.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I've been
that
reading it as well, and a lot of it I quite like the look of. It's quite fresh. It's interesting. It's not a D&D clone. It's not a sort of a copy. It it's an amalgamation of different things. It's sort of a mixing pot of ideas, and it may very well be. It may develop into something quite good.
well, obviously we've just got the basic early version of it here for playtest. Um, it is interesting. It's there's a lot of rules in there. I'll give it that. But it does interest me. It really, really does interest me.
I'm,
Now,
I'm
I love
where it goes.
D&D. You know where my stance on this. I know you don't, Chris. I really do like D&D, and the reason I like Dungeons and Dragons, the fifth edition, is because it's so vanilla. It's so open. You can do so much with it. It's a basic core structure that you can build upon. Uh, it's not the best role-playing system in the world, far from it. I think there's earlier versions of D&D did it better, but it's a lot more adaptable, I think, than the previous editions to do what you want with. That's the reason why I've set Averoin or written Averoin for it, which is my sandbox setting, basically, which is a bit different and a bit more unusual. It's based on the Averoin setting by Clark Ashton Smith, but it's a bit of a different take on it. Um, Daggerheart, that wouldn't fit very well with it, I don't think, at first glance. But it looks quite a decent fantasy setting, as or game, I should say, rather than setting.
Hopefully it can be used to, to create other games that people like, and it may be all it may be something, it may be able to do something that D&D can't do, and be more open and adaptable to sort of different types of settings, like,
Yeah.
sci-fi, sort of modern, sort of things like that.
Well, yeah, the D&D, I know it gets slated because of the level system, which a lot of people think it's outdated. So you go up a level, your character gets more powerful, you grind away, you get another level, maybe three or four game sessions later, possibly more.
Yeah,
The progression in D&D fifth edition is a lot faster than AD&D.
I'm
I
sorry.
do prefer AD&D is one of my favorites. That's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Uh, but fifth edition, it's an interesting framework to base other things actually on, and I think that's where it gains. And the thrill you get as a player, I think, when you go up a level, it's a bit like in a computer game when you ding, it's but hey, you get access to some new sort of jolly little things to actually use with your character, whether it's skills, abilities, whatever. And that I think is a great appeal to it. And it's popular for a reason. Basically, it's very accessible. I don't think it's the easiest game to learn. Far from it. I think there's a lot of complexities actually in there that a lot of players and games masters actually miss. But it's popular because people enjoy it, and for that reason alone, it's worth having a look at, worth playing.
Yeah, if you enjoy it, fine. I mean, personally, I don't. I don't enjoy running it. I find it cumbersome and time consuming, and in a lot of parts unnecessary. As a player, I find it restricted. But that isn't to say that I don't play fifth, because I would, you see, I generally would play sort of like anything D&D related apart from fourth. Fourth to me was just, well, it was horrific.
It was a miniatures game. That's
Yeah,
basically what it was. It was moving something across the board.
yeah.
If they'd actually sort of released it as a miniatures game,
Mm,
it would have been and side by side with a Dungeons and Dragons game, and it could have been used to enhance a
mm.
D&D game rather than being
Basic
something
Zero
all on its own.
was like fought in, oh, I don't know, kind of um sort of like a sort of like miniatures tabletop game with a load of heroes against a load of orcs. The possibilities are endless, just like it, the whole hobby. Use your imagination. Unfortunately, no one did, so that won't happen. But no, I would play fifth. I
Yeah.
will never run it.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely fair enough. You will play it at some stage. I'll be running it at some time in the future. But you're right. There are elements actually of it in combat when you have to start rolling for initiative, it slows things down. So straight away, I don't actually use initiative as such
No,
anymore.
no,
I prefer to keep it faster because there's nothing worse than you have your combat round and everyone's sort of G'd up and you're there, and then you roll for initiative again, and
yeah,
that just interrupts the flow of play. That, my opinion, and also the opinion of many others. So
yeah.
initiative is one thing out the window. Keep it fast and furious.
You see, that's the thing, right? Because there's no rules lawyers that kick your door in and go, "You're playing this game wrong." And if people do come to you and say you're playing it wrong, ignore them.
Yeah,
As long, if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons or any other role-playing game the way you want to, with your friends, and you're having fun, you are playing it right.
exactly.
By anyone else to say otherwise.
That's exactly it, and that's why I fell out with the Adventurers League. I was involved with that, and I was told by someone who been playing D&D for 2 years that
Mm.
you had to stick religiously by the rules, and fun was a side issue. With this particular type of play, you had to stick with that, and that was it. So at that point, I actually walked and carried on running D&D my way.
You can run it
Yeah,
how you want. Absolutely. That's the
yeah,
beauty of it. It's the second you purchase it, that's yours.
yeah.
What you want. I,
Well,
I
the
love
clue is in the title, isn't it? Dungeon Master's Guide, not Dungeon Master's Rules. Dungeon Master
that.
Guide.
Precisely.
Player's Handbook, not Player's Rules. Player's Handbook. Again, it's there. Monster Manual, not Monster Rules. It's
Yeah.
manual. It was deliberately there, and Gary Gygax did turn around and actually say, "There we go. Use it as you want." So, as far as I'm concerned, right. Any last words on this subject before we wrap this one up?
No, I think we said it all, really.
I think we have there. Right.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget to subscribe. Tick like, and thank you very much. And we will catch you soon for another episode of Top Dice.